Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 11th of December 2020. Alright everyone, let's get into it for today. So, some big news out of JP Morgan today. Not sure if it's Ethereum-based news, but basically what they announced was that they have executed a blockchain-based repo transaction using JPMCoin. Now, for those who don't know, JPMCoin has been this thing that's been in the works for quite a while. Basically like a stable coin for like interbank payments and things like that. It was announced quite a while ago. It might have even been announced last year. It's been around for quite a while. But basically, they announced that they had executed this repo transaction. And apparently it plans to make the product available to external counterparties as well. Other companies like Goldman Sachs and things like that. But I don't think it actually mentions what blockchain they used. I don't think they used a public chain. They would have used a private implementation. And JP Morgan has, toyed around with private Ethereum in the past. They built like an entire kind of private Ethereum implementation called Quorum, for those of you who might be familiar with that. I think Consensus ended up acquiring that a little while back. I might be wrong there. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that was like what they had done. So they're not like unfamiliar with Ethereum. And if I had to guess, this was probably built on something like Quorum, but they don't really go into specifics here from what I saw. So hoping to get more kind of specifics there, but I guess this is pretty cool. It's basically these bigger institutions getting comfortable using this technology. They're not going to start on the public blockchains, right? They're not going to start with public Ethereum, for example. They're going to start with private implementations, do all their testing, do everything, and then eventually come to the public blockchains. But there are still quite a few issues before they can make that leap. Obviously, scalability is a big issue. Privacy is a huge issue for them. Getting familiar with the tech, getting it adopted in these different companies. The network effects just aren't there. So it's going to be a slow grind, I think, and it'll happen over many years to come. I don't know when they'll start talking to public Ethereum. It'd be really cool if they did it, sooner rather than later. But as I said, there's a few critical issues there that they need to kind of iron out before they can do this. It's always funny seeing JP Morgan in the news when it comes to crypto. Obviously, their CEO is famous for saying that Bitcoin was worthless and wasn't a big fan of Bitcoin. But that's just I guess like he is the CEO, but at the same time, JP Morgan's a large institution. They will definitely have obviously these, I guess, innovation arms where they look at this sort of stuff, and if it means that they can improve their processes and they can have a cheaper, more efficient system, then they're not just going to be bogged down by, comments that the CEO says sort of thing. They're going to actually pursue this stuff. So really great to see that. I know that, this might go against like, we need to dismantle the banks, right? We need to decentralize them and everything like that. And yeah, maybe eventually we get to that reality. But for the time being, I think having the banks play friendly with this sort of stuff and integrate into it is much better than them trying to, dismantle it or like, ban it or have it kind of like, or like lobby politicians to ban it and things like that. So yeah, great to see that JP Morgan is kind of making strides here. I think you can get more website about what they're doing with get more information about what they're doing with JPM on their website. And the website is jpmorgan.com. I mean, there's a slash here. If you just search JPM coin on Google, you'll be able to find this. And it's got a bunch of kind of information here. And there's a FAQ and everything here. So definitely go check that out if you want some more context around all of this. All right, some drama today in, I guess, Maker and Uniswap. So basically what happened was that Uniswap governance is considering a proposal to restore uni farming, but cut the DAI rewards, but keep the rewards for the other pairs the same or higher. Now, because of this, Nick from MakerDAO, who is the head of Oracles there and works on the back end there, basically said that in light of this kind of proposal, Maker governance should reconsider adding Uniswap's LP tokens in favor of SushiSwap LP tokens. Now, this is quite funny, right? This is just like governance wars, I guess you can say, where it's basically, saying to Uniswap governance, hey, if you don't keep the DAI rewards the same as the other pairs or make it higher, Maker governance might not do Uniswap LP tokens as collateral, and put it into Maker, like I discussed on the other day's kind of update. So I mean, Nick's just one person at Maker. Like, he doesn't speak for the Maker governance process. He doesn't speak for like anyone else except himself. He's just giving a suggestion here. But it's always funny to see this because we haven't really seen governance wars play out like this in the past. I think we're going to see it as time goes on. As more of these protocols become intertwined and like they want to have influence over each other's kind of governance process and things like that. I mean, you can see here that Hayden Adams of Uniswap replied here and said that DAI rewards are currently 0. So if this proposal were to pass, it would be a huge subsidy to DAI liquidity where there is none right now. And he goes on to say he gets where Nick's coming from, and he didn't create the proposal himself, but in his opinion, in Hayden's opinion, this post is unnecessarily hostile and inflammatory, which, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get that, right? I get that it's a bit of a big, like, I mean, not a big reaction, but like a kind of a little bit of a hostile reaction, right? Where it's immediately going to, let's cancel LP tokens going into Maker because they're not going to subsidize DAI with uni farming. That's a bit of a scorched earth kind of approach there. So I kind of get that from Hayden's point of view. But at the same time, this is how you make people pay attention, right? This is how you get people to, think harder about these things, right? Because, Nick's got Hayden talking about this. He's got the community talking about this. He's got me talking about this, right? I didn't even know that this was a proposal on Uniswap's governance. Obviously, I knew about the Maker proposal, but I didn't know about this Uniswap one. So by Nick kind of tweeting out, I guess, maybe not in a hostile way, but in a way that's kind of like, a bit sensationalist, he gets people's attention. So it's worked. I actually think what Nick did was good. It gets more people talking. People are getting involved with the conversation. They're going to be more involved with governance, right? There's going to be more people replying in the threads. So this sort of stuff is how you get attention on things. And this isn't like anything unique to crypto, right? Like, drama always gets attention. But yeah, it's good to see that. And it's funny that he mentioned kind of SushiSwap here because you then have 0x Mackie, who is kind of like the lead dev of SushiSwap, who comes in and says that, we can help, right? Sushi can help. And, it's just another protocol entering the war, right? It's like, Nick suggesting Maker and SushiSwap form an alliance against like the Uniswap enemy, for example. That's just my spin on it. But we're going to see more of this happening. I mean, Rick Burton here posted a really funny comment here. Like, he says, heating up the protocol wars are, and they are. We're going to keep seeing more and more of this happen, especially, as I've been discussing, how YAM has created its own kind of ecosystem that kind of challenges the incumbent DeFi protocols, right? You had Cream under YAM challenging Compound and Aave. You have SushiSwap challenging Uniswap, things like that. So there's just going to be more of these wars going on and more of these battles being fought over time, I think. So something to keep an eye on, something to think about. If you're one to like get involved with these governance kind of things and peruse the forums and and have tokens that you like to vote with, definitely something you should be considering going forward. Right, an announcement out of DYDX today about some institutions adopting DeFi. So this was basically the announcement from Curve. Now that's CURV, Curve, not CURVE, not Curve, the stablecoin protocol, but this is Curve. They're basically trying to bring DeFi to institutions. So like, big centralized institutions trying to kind of bridge them into DeFi here. So the announcement is basically that Curve's partnered with Consensus to launch these solutions. And basically, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to integrate every DeFi protocol into these institutions and make it so that they can actually use these things. You can go to their website and see that they basically allow institutions to onboard really quickly into DeFi, basically give them enterprise level controls and protection across things, get the on-ramps going for institutions, and adopt any DeFi protocol essentially. So, they're using MetaMask to do this. They're working with Consensus. I think this is going to be big, right? Because the DeFi ecosystem is big already within crypto, but outside of it, it's like a blip. Like, you think about, let's be generous and say there's $15 billion locked in DeFi right now. The traditional finance system is just like, that's a rounding error for the traditional finance system. That's nothing. It means absolutely nothing outside of crypto. So, to get more growth and to kind of like, embed ourselves into these traditional finance systems, we need these institution adoption. And of course, this stuff isn't going to be decentralized, right? The institutions are going to have control over the funds that they're investing in these things, but that doesn't matter because they're actually using the protocols still. What matters is that the protocols are completely transparent. There's more liquidity in the ecosystem. There's more users. There's kind of like more things going on in terms of interoperability between all the protocols and institutions and things like that. So I think that is the benefit here. And I think, centralized kind of, I guess, like interfaces through these institutions are going to be the main kind of window into DeFi that most people interact with. I mean, for better or worse, like I would personally love if everyone just, was self-sovereign, ran their own full node, used MetaMask, right, whatever. But that's just not reality. Most people aren't going to do that. Most people are going to go through these centralized kind of intermediaries to access DeFi, which I think is fine. It's all about having the optionality there. You have the option to either do it on your own or go through a centralized service to do it and things like that. So great to see, Curve doing this here. With working with Consensus, who's obviously got a lot of enterprise experience, and working to onboard all these kind of companies into DeFi. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. So another announcement from YAM and I guess UMA today. So they basically have teamed up for something called Degenerative Finance. So basically it's a collaboration where, they describe it here. This new suite of degen derivatives will begin with UMA's recent UGAS contract and expand into a variety of speculative and hedging products catered to the DeFi ecosystem. So basically, it's basically going to be YAM having like UMA, the UGAS token under its umbrella. So ULabs will pass over the ownership of UGAS to the YAM finance team, and then the YAM kind of ecosystem will manage this UGAS token and enhance the user experience here. So this is, it's funny because they're saying it's a collaboration, right? Whereas maybe if this was a YAM thing, they'd say it's a merger or something, right? Whereas I think collaboration or partnership is the right word for these things, because obviously UMA is not merging with YAM here, right? They're just like synergizing and kind of like working cross protocol here with different communities. It's funny. I just thought of it now. I've talked about YAM a lot on the Daily Gwei Refuel so far. And it's funny because as I've mentioned before, I don't own YAM tokens anymore. I was big on YAM when it first kind of came out, and I still follow it very closely. I still think it's a really great project. They're doing a lot of really great things. I kind of view YAM as like this glue for the kind of like the DeFi ecosystem, where they're going to end up partnering with a lot of different, not partnering, but like collaborating with a lot of different protocols, and they have like a really tight and awesome community that's going to be pushing these things out. So you're going to see YAM pop up here and there. And they really are doing it for the community as well. Like their treasury does a lot of good work. They donate to Gitcoin through their treasury and things like that. I think that the one thing that lets the YAM project down is that their token has like a rebasing mechanism. And I discussed on yesterday's Daily Gwei Refuel why rebalancing coins are problematic. Especially rebasing coins are problematic, especially simple rebasing. There's more complex systems like empty set dollar and things like that are trying to improve the model, whereas YAM's model is basically, I guess, a slight improvement on Ampleforth's model. Maybe, I don't know what YAM's kind of plans are there. I think it kind of lets the project down. So hopefully they have plans to fix that as well, because I really do think people are overlooking just how good this community is. And I wrote about the importance of communities in the Daily Gwei newsletter today. And that's what's kind of got me thinking. I was just like thinking about, what are the best communities in DeFi? And I'd put YAM up there, definitely. That every time I go into that Discord, I'm like so happy because I just see people like genuinely building things that they care about, and it's not about like token price speculation or any of that stuff. It's the same feeling I get with YAM when I go on the governance forums and I see people talking to each other and adding tons of value. And there's a lot of projects like this, but I think YAM is something very, very special because it was, the way it came to be was just such a big event, right? For people that were around back when it happened, when YAM came out, it was basically the biggest thing since YAM. And then after that, we obviously had the diminishing returns of all the food Ponzi's as they came to be known. But YAM is kind of like battle hardened, battle tested, born out of that kind of era, and I think they're gonna go far. So definitely a project that you should be keeping your eyes on. I don't suggest, I'm not saying you should go buy the token or anything like that, but you should definitely keep an eye on what they're doing and how they're doing different things within DeFi. So a new DeFi project closed a seed round today called Swivel Finance. They raised $1.15 million from a bunch of investors that a lot of you would be familiar with. It was led by Multicoin Capital, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, Electric Capital, CMS Holdings, Divergence Ventures, and Defiance Capital, and also angels, including Stani from Aave, and a couple of others here, like Imran Khan from the DeFi Alliance, and Alex Pack from Huobi. He's an advisor there. So yeah, what this, I guess, protocol is aiming to do is it's basically, I was looking into it before, basically a protocol to facilitate interest rate swaps. At least that was the first version of it, called Swivel V1. And that allowed lenders to lock in guaranteed yield and speculators to leverage their rate of exposure. And I think as part of what's kind of coming next for this protocol, they've got a lot in the pipeline. I think when I went to the website, if I can find the website here, basically fixed rate lending and interest rate derivatives is what they're kind of targeting here. These are pretty exotic financial products, actually. These exist obviously in traditional finance, but they're not products that retail investors usually play around with. They're products that professional investors and traders and things like that will play around with. But I think just like with all of these other products that we have coming out with DeFi, we're going to have like more and more people getting exposed to these exotic products that they would not have been exposed to in the traditional finance system. And that's just great overall, right? We have more players. It's fairer because it's in DeFi. It's obviously non-custodial and things like that. It means that we get to expand the amount of people that kind of like play in this area. And of course, overall education goes up as well. So yeah, they describe themselves here as the decentralized protocol for fixed rate lending and interest rate derivatives. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other major protocols doing this just yet. I'm sure there's a bunch of them in stealth as well. I've actually been looking lately and doing a lot of research around, what projects are out there, kind of have a Twitter account, have like soft announced in the past, but aren't really making noise yet because they're still building out their protocols, which, is normally referred to as like stealth, projects, projects that just like literally in stealth, aren't making much noise. And there's a lot. Like I came across a lot of projects across like every vertical within DeFi, whether that be options products, perpetual products, stuff like this, fixed rate lending and interest rate derivatives, and derivatives in general. There is so much coming to DeFi. It's just going to be like this massive race between all of these teams building these protocols to basically scale up to billions of dollars and to become a dominant player. And I think that's another reason why the YAM ecosystem is forming, its own little thing with different protocols, is because the competition is just going to get more and more fierce, and you want to have allies during this. You don't want to be a lone ranger during what's coming for DeFi over the next couple of years. As I said, I've done a lot of research into this, and it's a lot. I was surprised by how many projects are spinning up. It's gonna make things kind of like harder, I guess, in general, to kind of cut out the wheat from the chaff, because there's going to be a lot of scams as well, unfortunately, especially as the bull market heats up. But in general, I think paying attention to what's happening across all of these projects is good from, out of genuine curiosity, or if you're investing in these markets, you definitely want to know where, all the kind of interest is, and, what projects are growing, what aren't growing. I've kind of, at this point, I spend so much time in Ethereum, and I've already lost track of like all the projects in the ecosystem. Like I come across projects that have been out for a few weeks, and it's the first time I've heard of them. Even though I spend every day, looking through it all, and that's simply because there's just too much happening, and you just won't come across everything, which I think is pretty bullish, right? It means that kind of we've reached this kind of escape velocity with Ethereum and DeFi, where it's just going to get like a life of its own, and no kind of one person has like a whole view of what's happening, and that's really healthy going forward, I think. So as I spoke about yesterday or the day before, there was this Ether fund going live on the Toronto Stock Exchange, which went live today or yesterday, depending on where you are in the world right now. So you can buy this if you have access to the Toronto Stock Exchange with your brokerage account or registered retirement account. So you can basically get exposure to ETH through your retirement accounts in this kind of jurisdiction here. Similar to what I spoke about yesterday, about like the ETH product from Grayscale. I'm pretty sure this is a similar product. But they claim it's the world's first regulated and major exchange listed ETH fund. So I think it works differently to those products. I think with the ETH product, there's no redemption feature where, once you're in, you can't kind of sell, or like exit sort of thing. At least I think that's how it works. Whereas with this fund, I'm assuming that you can like actively buy and sell it at will, and there is a redemption feature there. But yeah, if you want to go check that out, it'll be linked in the show notes. You can check out more details about that one. All right, I think that's everything for today, everyone, that I had. A bit of a slower day today. I actually noticed there wasn't as much news coming out as other days. Maybe we'll see some fireworks over the weekend, or maybe into next week. I know that we have those pending regulations still, where there's those rumors about, I guess, banning self-hosted wallets or doing more KYC, more regulations. I think we're going to get clarity over the next few days around that. I think that's why the markets are the way they are right now, where markets hate uncertainty. So any kind of uncertainty kind of puts pause, and people are like, I won't buy now because there's this kind of thing that's coming. We'll see what happens there. I personally think that it's going to be a kind of like sell the rumor, buy the news. Like I think they're going to come out with these new regulations, and it's going to be, what I think I've said it on the kind of show before, where it's just going to be like tightening KYC regulations and also making it so that you're limited to how many withdrawal addresses you can have, or crypto withdrawal addresses you can have on centralized exchanges. So I'm expecting that. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated with everything, of course. And if you haven't yet, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, and join the Discord. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.